So thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Jennifer McConnell. I am the founder of Living Legacy and the Living Legacy Conversations. And the whole idea of Living Legacy Conversations is to invite people that have, I suppose, caught our attention, that we know are fabulous and that have great insight to helping people consider how they can live and, I suppose, honor their kind of life and legacy. And so today I'm delighted to be joined by Susan Walsh from Metis Ireland, who's going to talk about financial planning. And while it might seem like something many people want to avoid, I think it's something that we all actually need. So Susan, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here chatting with you this evening, Jennifer. Thank you.
So what I want to say to anyone, if you have any particular finance questions, please feel free to put a message through. You can email us at info@livinglegacy.ie or leave a comment here as well. If you don't get a chance to stay for the full conversation, then please join us on YouTube for the replay, which is at livinglegacy_IE. So Susan, what I would say is, to get started, before we even get into the nuts and bolts of financial planning, can you tell us a little bit about you? How did you get to become, I suppose, part of Metis Ireland, and what's your interest in the area of financial planning?
Yes, so Susan Walsh, I am married with a mum of two kids, a 14-year-old girl and an 11-year-old boy, so busy. I am in financial services over 20 years, and I originally got into that. I did my degree in postgrad in UL and ended up working in the Pensions Authority in Dublin. Actually, that's how I got into financial services, and my love for helping people and advising people. And fast forward, I think, a number of years in Dublin, and came back to Limerick. Some life events ended up back in Limerick, and I have been in Limerick for the last 15 odd years in financial services and financial advice. So joined Metis Ireland about 3 years ago. So Metis Ireland is one of Ireland's largest independently owned financial planning firms. We have a head office in Limerick, offices in Dublin, dealing with clients all over Ireland. And I'm a private client manager with them. And my job is to help people to take control of their finances, to help them to understand their finances, to give them focus and clarity around their finances, and to help them understand what the goals, the dreams, the aspirations are, and to build towards those goals.
So as a daughter of a former accountant, I don't know if you're ever a former anything when it comes to accounts, because inevitably people will always ask your opinion. I did not inherit his financial brain. So I think of finances and financial planning, I just think of, oh God, numbers, and I don't have money, and this isn't for me. I just want a lump sum and then enjoy it and, you know, have a great life and not worry about the long-term future. Now that I'm getting close to 50, it's that level of, okay, I actually now need to think about, after I finish my career, how do I fund myself, but also how do I enjoy my life while it is now? How do you make financial planning sexy?
Is it sexy? We're trying. Yeah, you talk about financial planning to people and they start to tune out pretty quick. It's like accountancy, isn't it? Look, financial planning, I think there's a big fear factor around it, you know, and I think our industry has a lot to answer for that. We have made it complicated for people over years, and it really doesn't need to be. It just, the first step of financial planning is just sitting down and talking to somebody, okay, and somebody who will help you to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. So a lot of people I talk to, they say, oh God, I don't know what questions to ask, or I don't understand finances, and there's a lot of products out there. Financial planning is all about having a plan, right? And knowing where you are right now, knowing what stage you are, and everybody's different here, okay? So figuring out where you are right now. We only get one shot at life, okay? So what are the goals, the dreams, the aspirations, and how are you going to achieve those goals and those dreams and those aspirations? But a lot of time I talk to people, okay, and it doesn't matter whether they're an employee or self-employed or a business owner or a C-level exec. Everybody has the same question, and is it, am I going to be okay at the end of the day? So is that putting the kids to college? Is it clearing the mortgage? Is it buying a holiday home? Is it retiring early? And I hate that word retirement because it feels like you're putting people out to pasture. You know, when can I be financially independent? And financial independence is the day that you know you never have to work again. So everybody has a different goal and a dream. And you know, we have one shot at life, and how are we going to live our best life? And it's helping people to maximize their return in life, you know. So financial planning, it's not sexy, but it does help provide clarity, and it helps provide peace of mind to people. And I think that's the best thing that you can give people. financial stress is real, and it feeds into our mental health and our physical well-being. But if you can help somebody around their finances and give them clarity around that and give them peace of mind, that's what I love about my job, and that's what's helping people, you know.
Yeah, I think one of the key things, and it's something that, like, I was fortunate where I had worked in jobs that I was paid well. I worked abroad. I got to travel the world, you know, so there's a lot of things of my list that I really wanted to do, and I did it. But now it's that thing of actually being financially free. How to ensure that I can cover my bills, I can invest in the future, I can plan for the things that I'd like to do, whether it's going on a cruise, whether it's, you know, doing a build at the house, you know, supporting my parents as they get older, those kind of things that it's very hard to even quantify how much money you actually need. So how do you do it?
Yeah, everybody's different. You know, when you're talking to individuals, nobody's the same. Everybody's different. And, you know, when you look at these online calculators, they frighten the life out of people, because if you go into one of these calculators, you know, I'm not going to name them, and you say, how much do I need for retirement? And you look at what it spits back out to you. It's scary for people, you know. We've got to be realistic when we're talking about planning. You know, you have to have people prioritize. So we all know from school days, income and expenditure and budgeting and debt management. Okay, so you have to manage that, and you have to prioritize what's important. So when you're looking at the future, like when we're looking at helping people build a plan, we're looking at the short term, which is, what are the expenses now? What's the expenditure? What's coming? What's happening in the next few years? And we don't have a good idea of what's happening in the next few years, whether it's buying a house or whatever is happening. Then you're looking at the longer term. You're taking a little step and you're looking at the longer term, and you're saying, okay, I want to retire. What am I going to need when I retire? You know, so what am I going to live on? What kind of lifestyle do I want? And then you're looking at the medium term. But it does depend on your goals, your dreams, and what you want to do, because mine will be different than yours and different than the next person. My income is different. My expenditure is different. You know, what I want to do in the future is different. So that's where we come into play, you know, and we'll help build those plans for people. We'll help with those figures and those projections, but we make them realistic. So we'll figure out where you are now and what the future looks like now, what the next few years looks like. And then how are we going to get you from A to B to C to D? What do we need to do? And there's so much in that, in terms of, you know, a lot of people say, like, you know, what you want to be, you know, covered if you're sick. So what happens if I get sick? What happens if I die? You know, there's estate planning, there's maybe exiting business, there's retirement provision. There's a lot in there. And we don't expect people to come to us to understand this, because it's not their business. And you said a minute ago, I don't feel like I have enough, or maybe people say I don't have enough to talk to a financial advisor or a financial planner. I don't like that, because you work hard for your money and everything is relative. So what is, you know, important to you may not be important to the next person. So you work hard for it. You want to get the best out of life. You only get one shot at life. So you want to make that the best life you can. And by putting a plan in place, it'll help you to prioritize and be realistic about those goals.
Yeah, and I totally agree, because one of the things that I suppose I recently came across with, I was involved with a mentoring program, and it was all about that level of kind of how to plan for the life that you want to live, but also how to take action in it. So it's all well and good to go, I have my dream list and my bucket list, this is what I'm going to do. But quite often we associate that kind of thing of the bucket list as a faraway dream that'll likely never happen, unless we're literally about to kick the bucket, that we suddenly go, oh, I always wanted to do a parachute jump, I always wanted to do this. But quite often when you're dealing, and I know from me with Living Legacy, helping people to put their end of life plans in place, I'm not dealing with people who are at end of life. I'm looking at people who are healthy, well and able, to help them get their plans in place now, direct them to the likes of yourselves, financial planners, lawyers, tax advisors, to go, these are the people that can give you the formal guidance and put the formal plans in place. But there's so much to think about even before you get to that stage. So what are the biggest blocks that you find from people preventing them actually connecting in with financial planners, or when they get to you that they're kind of a bit stuck? What are the biggest kind of blocks that you find?
Yeah, I think, as I said a few minutes ago, there's fear around finances, you know, and us Irish, we don't like talking about money, do we? You know, it's like a taboo. It's like a dirty word nearly, you know, people don't like to talk about money, but we should, and we should be having those conversations, and we should be talking to each other. So I think that there is a fear that people say, God, I should know where my money's going, but I don't really. I guarantee you 95% of the people that I talk to, when they come into us and we sit down and go through their expenses, they do not know where their money's going, you know. But that's all of us, you know. And people don't like to admit that. So they don't want to admit to a financial planner, oh God, I don't know what my expenses are, or I don't know what this is. That's okay. You don't have to. You know, we're here to help those people. But there is a fear. I think people don't like to talk about finances. There's a fear around that, or there's a fear of, I don't have enough to go talk to a planner, you know. That's the other side of it, that, oh God, sure, I need to have X amount before I talk to them. That's not right either. You know, financial planning is for everybody, and it helps people and provides peace of mind. And that's huge. But it also, it can change, it can change people's lives. It really, really can. Like, it can help you when you have clarity around something, you know, it can help you work towards that goal, or just, you know, shift your life, whether it's a career change or it's an exit in business, whatever it is, looking after family, it can help you move towards those goals. And that's what it's about. But it's about, I think the initial step is just talking to somebody and helping you to understand. And financial planning is also about coaching individuals as well through their finances. And we work with, so individuals we work with them, you know, on a constant basis. We're coaching them, understanding them, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and educating them, which is a massive, massive thing. So if somebody's talking to us or dealing with us, we want them to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. You know, not just to do something for the sake of it, not just to take out a protection policy because, you know, they fear, you know, okay, I might die, so I need this, but what actually you're going to get out of it, you know. So education is a massive thing around finance as well. And I think as an industry, we need to be helped to be coaching people and educating them and getting them to understand their finances more, you know.
Yeah, and I think I'm always intrigued when people say, "If I die, we are dying."
It's when, isn't it? Yeah, it's yeah.
But I will direct people back into Living Legacies, the very first Living conversation we had with Jodie Wellman from 4,000 Mondays, and she has this calculator to calculate how many Mondays you have left to live, and it's quite horrendous when you actually look at it. And it can frighten you because you kind of go, oh my God, I've only got this amount, but I want to do all of these things. But day-to-day life gets in the way. And inevitably, if you have a bit of money, even if it's just from your paycheck, inevitably you could go, oh, I have a couple of £100 that I wasn't expecting this month. Your car will then break down, or your children need new clothing, or, you know, there will always be something that will fill that gap where you think you might have a bit of money to put aside. It'll happen. So it's nearly that level of, even before you think about it with your salary, is put it into a saving, put it into something rather than it sitting there because something will come along to grab it. I think it is that thing of, you know, saving money for a rainy day, but actually not really doing anything with the money that we want to keep for that rainy day, or not even knowing what that rainy day would be. So again, it could be that, oh, well, if I get sick, if I die, or when I die, that there's so many different provisions that we have to consider that, like, I'm going to probably scare people that are watching this now, so, you know, welcome to my world. But it's the thing of looking at, if something happens to you now, so if you had died yesterday, how prepared are your loved ones today? So do they know what your bank accounts are? Do they know who your financial advisor is? Do you have a financial advisor? Do your loved ones know your utility bills, all of the memberships you might be subscribed to, subscriptions that you might have signed up to somebody's Substack or to like a Patreon, but nobody knows about that. So how often do you do a little bit of a declutter to go through all of the things that are connected to you and all of the financial elements that are connected to you? But also, if something happens, and I know myself from having a father who has dementia, is that if you don't get it regularly, say, assessed, like you need to have a doctor to say, you know, a person is cognitively able or not able to put in an enduring power of attorney. That process is now taking about, I think there's a 9-month backlog to process this new system. But actually, if somebody gets sick or is in hospital, you know, with cognitive issues, that the banks are actually entitled to freeze your accounts.
Yeah.
So how do you cover your bills? How do you cover contributing to your rainy day fund, to your investments, so that when you're better, you're not losing out by all that money kind of being on hold. So I think there's always the think of the worst case scenario and consider where you're at now, and who knows all of the financial elements connected to you. So in terms of like financial planning, do you get access to all of that information? Like, does somebody say to you, these are all of my bills, or these are all of the subscriptions, or is that the kind of thing that you give them a template to fill in so that they can track it for themselves?
Yeah. So when we sit down initially to meet with somebody, right, we give them what we call our getting to know you, which is we'll ask you nearly what you had for your breakfast, to be honest, you know. But we give
you do.
yeah. But hey, you know, when we deal with somebody or when I talk to somebody, I want to get to know them, you know. So I want to know what makes them tick and what you know, what makes them happy and what they're striving for. But yeah, as I said to you, a lot of people don't actually know what their expenses are. So we give templates, you know, and we go through that with them, and we know pretty much straight away whether that's accurate or not. So we'll help people with that stuff. But you're right, when it comes to you know, thinking about finances, it's not just financial planning. It's the other things. It's the wills, it's the power of attorney, it's all that stuff, you know. That stuff we can't deal with, but we do help people deal with, you know. So we will always say, you know, you need to put this into your will, or you can give, when we go through a plan and financial or financial planning process, we can give a, you know, a document to them with everything in it that we have reviewed, and that is quite often very handy for people's solicitors as well, you know. So everything is in that, and they can just give that to their solicitor and include it as part of their will. But yeah, we review absolutely everything. So a lot of people come to us and they might have had policies from other advisors or pensions from ages ago, and they don't know where that is or what that is, or you know, we review all that stuff. We will also help plan for the future. So, you know, we'll identify where, if there's gaps, because, you know, if for example, you know, I'm 46 now. If I'm retiring in 20 years, I don't want to be dependent on the state pension. So we know there's gaps there, and what do I need to do, or what do you need to do to plug in that gap, you know, and help you prioritize. As I said earlier, the short term, the medium term, the long term, there are different phases in life, but you still need to make provision for the rainy day fund, as you said. If you're out of work, you know, do you have something there to help you with that, to replace that income? Where's the rainy day fund for the unexpected expenses? You know, have you looked after the long-term provision? And then the medium-term stuff is the other stuff that fills in, as I said, like the mortgages, the children's education, whatever else is in there. But I listened to that podcast, sorry, not podcast, the last Instagram live with the 4,000 days. Yeah. Because look, you know, my mum passed away, she was 69. My brother passed away, he was 52. My father-in-law passed away, he just retired. So I'm very conscious that life is very, very short. And we, as I said, we only get one shot at this, and we want to live the best life we can. So financial planning is helping you live that best life now, not in 20 years' time, because who knows where we're going to be in 10, never mind 20 years' time. So it's now, and it's figuring out, you know, it doesn't always have to be about money either. Like it's experiences and living experiences, but living the best life that you want to live, which will be different for me and different for you and different from somebody else. But everything we do around financial planning is always tailored to the individual, because everybody is so different and everybody has different requirements.
Yeah, no, and I think the thing as well is, like, I know for myself, like I had an accident actually nearly to the day on Tuesday. It is 8 years, where I tripped and fell off a jetty after scuba diving, and I landed on wet sand, which is like concrete, fell 10 feet and broke my back. Now, thankfully, I didn't need surgery. I wasn't paralyzed. I wasn't unconscious, but I was out of work. So there was that thing of, like, thankfully my employer still paid me for the few months, because I had literally just resigned from the job as well. So there was all of these different things where I had resigned with the intention of sourcing other work. I was living abroad. That didn't happen. So there was that thing of, oh God, thankfully I had a rainy day fund. I was able to cover myself for those few months. But people think that when it comes to advanced planning, financial planning, end of life planning, anything, that we'll be given notice as to time to start planning. And again, it is that thing of, I have so many people that say, like with the work of Living Legacy, and I will plug out to anybody watching, please go to livinglegacy.ie to find out more. But it's that level of, we don't get that notification to say now is the time to start planning, because realistically, well, you've Living Legacy Conversations now, which hopefully gives everybody a bit of a nudge. But the thing is that when you actually start, if you think of waiting until you get a health diagnosis, waiting until you've experienced a bereavement, by then you're actually looking at your planning from a place of grief.
Mm.
And you're not actually going to make the same decisions as you would when you're looking at it when you're healthy, well, and able from a place of objectivity. But the other thing as well is to have those conversations with your loved ones to go, okay, well, this is what I'd like. What would you like? You know, and I know definitely from probably over the last 8 years, the more conversations I have with people, the more people are terrified to have those conversations with people because they don't necessarily want to offend loved ones by saying, well, actually, I only have this amount of money, or I have more money than you think, but I don't necessarily want to divide it equally between my loved ones. And I think that's possibly where, and correct me if I'm wrong, the fear of going to a financial planner is it is that declaration of either how good your finances are or how poor they are. And it's the fear of actually facing it directly and then having to talk to their loved ones about it can actually be the biggest block.
Yeah, exactly. You know, sometimes isn't ignorance bliss, and sometimes, you know, sometimes, but it is, you know, it is the fear, and I said that it's a fear around finances, and we need to be having more of these conversations because, you know, and I talk to a lot of people, and they're afraid that they don't understand finances, and that's okay. It's okay not to understand it, you know, but you know what's not okay is to forget about it and put it on the long finger, you know. There's people there to help you and people there to help you understand that. And yes, when you talk about finances and family, things can get very complicated, you know, but I think, and again, that's where a good financial planner will help you to plan for the future. Estate planning is very, very important. Succession planning is so, so important as well. That if you are at that stage of your life, and again, there's all different individuals at different stages of life, but if you're at that stage of your life, a certain stage of your life, you have to think about estate planning, you have to think about succession planning, you have to talk to your solicitor, you have to get your will straight, because otherwise you're going to leave an awful lot of a mess behind you, and that's not fair or nice for anybody. But if you work closely with a financial advisor, like we do with a lot of our clients, and we help them through the different stages of life, it becomes a natural progression where you're sitting down on a yearly basis and you're nearly doing a health check on your finances like you would in your health, on your health. You sit down with your GP, and hopefully most people sit down with their GP maybe once a year and go through their health. It's important, you should. Same with finances, you know, a financial health check once a year with an advisor that you really, really trust and that you know, and that, you know, they know you know, and we help them through the different stages of life, you know. And then that, as I said before, it gives peace of mind and clarity to individuals that, yes, I have this done. I know that this is going to be okay. Are we going to be okay? Yes, I'm going to be okay here. That's so, so important for people. You know, we did I think that's where we originally met you, was the Future You conference in Spanish Point. And it wasn't just about Metis Ireland financial planning. It was about, you know, so much more. That's why we had the psychologists there. We looked at the well-being side of it, the mental and physical well-being, because that's so important as well. And it's a holistic approach to financial planning. So it's not just about finances, it's about all the other parts of your life as well. And it all plays into that. So it's important to look after the different stages of the financial planning and different stages of life. And as I said, like, you know, to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it is so, so important.
Yeah, and I think the thing as well is, like, one of the things that I find is that when people avoid doing things, like when they hear end of life planning, they do think that they have to get end of life. But actually, this is an amazing opportunity to take stock of where you're at right now. What's working for you, what's not. Maybe where do you have money that you could actually be, you know, investing it better? Where could you actually clear some debt? Where could you put money aside? Where could you actually gift money to grandchildren, to nieces, nephews, to your children, rather than actually wait until you're long gone? But I think the other thing as well is that even in terms of the step-by-steps in the process of advanced planning, as you say, whether it's succession planning, whether it is end-of-life planning, whether it is life building, is like when I talk to people, they automatically will say, oh, I have a will or I don't have a will. And I'm like, that's the last thing you need to do. Like, as in, you do it, but there's so many other things that you need to do beforehand. And the first thing you need to do is take stock of where you're at right now with your health, with your wealth, with, you know, the day-to-day responsibilities, that all the things connected to you. But then the next is the financial planning, is really to look at where you at with your finances. Yes, you may have an accountant, but an accountant is there to make sure that your books are accurate. They're not there to advise you on what to invest in, where to plan for the future, but they can direct you to a financial planner. And the same way, a tax advisor can give you the guidance on all of the reliefs that are there, how you could better maximize kind of, I suppose, tax reliefs. But there's so many different people that you kind of need to weave your life through to really make sure that you've got the fullest picture, but then also the best plan.
Yeah, and look, and we work closely with any individual that we work with. We work closely with their accountants and their tax advisors, so we're all on the same page as well, by the way, you know, so we don't give tax advice. And when you're talking about investments and products and stuff, that's always secondary to the plan, by the way. The plan will always come first because they're completely individual and tailored. And as I said before, everybody's different. You have different stages of life, you have different requirements, different objectives, different needs. But the plan will come first, and the plan will dictate where the investment is, or what the investment is, or what the pension is, or whatever, you know, what the product is. But the plan should always be first, you know, so you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you've clarity around it, you know. But, you know, the accountant will do so much for you, the tax advisor will do so much for you, but they're not going to help you plan for the future. So if you want to plan for the future and know, am I going to be okay, you know, when are we going to do X, Y, and Z? When are, you know, are we going to be okay getting the kids to college? Are we going to pay off that mortgage? When can I retire? When can I be financially independent? That's the financial planner. The financial planner, a good financial planner, will help you do that, and always put your needs first. Products will come later.
Yeah, and actually, I have to say, like, in terms of a big shout out to you, because I did ask you to actually help, you know, somebody that I know, and the thing was that you were very clear, actually, that it wasn't financial planning, but it was actually the tax support that they needed, and you were able to kind of help out with that. But it's actually that financial planning isn't up to a certain age. It's kind of for all ages, that you could be in your 20s, you could be in your 80s or 90s, but it's actually to better understand. And I think to take away the fear that quite often we fear we don't have the money to meet our current or future needs, but actually we're not necessarily equipped to know what we need to know for the future. So like that, by connecting in with yourselves, just helps to kind of do that little self-audit. Like, again, we send our car at least once a year for a service to make sure that the car is in its best health, to let us journey forward for however many more miles. We get the NCT to make sure that we're actually road compliant. But we need to apply the same to ourselves. So the same way that if we, like, and I would always say this to clients, is that go and get the health check. See where you're at now, because there's no point worrying about something that may never happen. But at least if you know where you're at right now, then at least you've got the, okay, well, this is the baseline. The same way with the financial planning is go get that done so that at least you can see, okay, cards on the table. These are all the things I have. This may be the debt that I have. This may be where I'm owed money. These are the ambitions I have. And these are the things that I need to kind of figure out how I can get there. And then actually go, okay, I now have a full audit of health and wealth to then look at the legacy and the life that I have yet to live. So I think it is all about that, taking away the fear.
Definitely. There was a fear there, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to win like the lotto and then you'd be like, yay, because you'll still need to go to a financial planner to figure out what to do with that. But the same way, even if you have nothing but debt, but you're earning some level of income, is to kind of help you plan where to go with that. And there might be, like, I think as it maps the free financial service, if you feel that you're not earning enough to warrant going to a financial planner, but actually have a conversation with the financial planner, because then at least you know what's possible, what you need to think about, and then maybe when to come back if the finances kind of get settled as well. So yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it is just the fear, but I think our fear of, as I say, the fear of dying is also the same as our fear of living. And we have to figure out about the things that stop us and knowing when to ask advice from people in the know.
Yeah, exactly. And you said it there, you know, that financial, I think you said, you know, what age do you start? Like, I would love if younger, you know, I sound old now, but younger people, but like when I was in my 20s and 30s, I didn't want to I was in the industry, but I still, financial planning was like, oh my God, like, you know, there has to be an education around this, and I would love if there was a lot more education. And we still see it, you know, with you know, I talk to a lot of women, and they're like, oh, you know, we talk about the gender pay gap and the gender pension gap. That's still huge. And you know, when I talk to women on a daily basis, a lot of time they're like, oh, you know, I don't have time to be dealing with financial plans. I don't, you know, I have a lot going on with the kids and work and stuff, and they don't want to take, maybe don't feel like they don't have the knowledge to take that first step. And I think that's it. And we touched on this earlier. It's the knowledge around it and the education around it. And sometimes it's just taking the first step. And the first step is figuring out where you are now and just sitting down with somebody going, right, this is where we are now. This is what it looks like with our income and expenditure, etc. And how are we going to get from A to B? And that's, it's just taking the first step is always the hardest. And that's just picking up the phone and talking to somebody and say, look, I need a bit of help here. And that's what a financial planner will do. They'll help you, and coach you and educate you. And that's what financial planning should be about.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is, like, even when we look at, even in schools and colleges, like, financial planning is not really talked about. Like, yes, how to learn how to do accounts for other people, but how to actually do those things for yourself. And the worst thing that could happen, you go and talk to a financial planner and you go, I'm not there yet, but now you're informed. Now you know when and who to go to, and actually start to shop around as to what are the different products that are on offer, where are you at, what's your financial health like, to then look at, but also look at the dreams that you have, look at the ambitions, what are the things that you would love to do, how much will it cost, and what do you need to set aside to allow you to actually do it. And again, I think we can always stay in that kind of wistful thinking of, oh, I'd love to do this, but never fully expecting that we're going to get there. So how do we actually commit to our dreams, but then also know that we have to commit to the process in looking at our finances to ensure that we will actually get there and not live a life of regret?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's about. It's about maximizing return in life, so as I said to you, maybe, even business owners, we talk to them and sometimes they don't look at financial planning even until it's too late, so how are they going to get out of business, to reliefs and all that stuff. And, it's fine to talk to a financial planner, but you need to talk to them on time, and I have those plans in place that you're not doing it last minute either, so yeah, it's about living the best life and how are you going to do that and how are you going to goals, dreams, aspirations. And look, as I said, there's all different stages of life, but it's about just putting the plan in place and getting to that goal and getting to those dreams that you want to do in your life.
Which leads me nicely on to Susan. Living Legacy Conversation, I have asked people questions which when I have emailed it to them, they've gone, oh good God. But there's a couple of questions that I think, in terms of looking at, say, with regard to your work in financial planning, how do you embody that for yourself? So when you think about living your best life, what are the, like, as I would say, the things that I ask people are the fives. So what are your 5 new things you'd like to try, 5 things you'd like to achieve, and 5 places you'd like to visit over the coming year, or even in terms of your big aspiration list? What is it for you?
Yeah, you sent these on to me and I was like, oh my God. Yeah, so look, as I said to you, because of my mom and brother and stuff, myself and my husband are very much into living now and living the best life we can now, not in 20 years' time. And we've 2 kids, so it's all about experiences with them, really. And look, we've done a lot. I'm going to start with the 5 places. We've done a good bit of traveling. We've done Australia and South America and Asia. So we have never gone skiing with kids. So that's next on the bucket list, is to go skiing with the kids. Yeah. So we're actively researching that. I would love to do Canada. I would love to see the Northern Lights, to Iceland. I'd love to do that. And I love Italy. Love Italy. So one of the bucket list items would be, when we're financially independent, not retired, but financially independent, is to do Italy and Europe and maybe head off in a camper van and do that. And then fifth one is more closer to home, is Northern Ireland. I have not spent much time up there, and I would love to go tour around Northern Ireland. So they're my 5 places to visit.
Nice. I should put you in touch with Ross Steele, who was one of our previous guests.
I listened to Ross, yeah.
Yeah, he's up in Derry, so we could always connect you and he can give you the tour.
Yeah.
I think they're really nice things to think of. And even in terms of, like, you can go skiing in Canada, you can do the Northern Lights by cruise, so I'm a big fan of cruises. But I think it's those things that, and then it's like, well, if you do all of that, what's next? It opens up the possibilities of the next thing. And it definitely sounds like you're well traveled anyway, so no bother to you. But in terms of, like, say, with regard to your own ambitions, or like, what are the 5 things that you'd like to achieve even within the coming year?
Oh, within the coming year, wow. I want to continue doing more of this in terms of getting out there and talking about financial planning and financial education, and especially for women, because I think there is a massive, massive gap there. And I am going to do a little bit of a plug, because I am doing a talk with Network Limerick in October. I think it's October the 17th.
Okay.
So there'll be more information coming up on that, but that'll be around financial planning as well. And that I'm going to be speaking with Sinead English of Hilt, another fantastic Limerick woman. So it's to do a lot more of that financial education and coaching as well for around finances. That's what I love doing. That's the part of the job that I love, is helping people and helping them to empowering people around their finances. Really, that's what I love to do. So a lot more of that.
What non-work stuff would you like to do?
Oh, non-work. So I have recently taken up golf. Would you believe?
Ooh.
Yeah. I've been giving out to my husband for the last number of years about the time he spent on the golf course. So so we just recently did the get into golf, and very frustrating game. So you hit one shot, you think it's great, the next is desperate. But so I'm going to put a little bit of time into that, I think, and see how we get on with that, and do things like this. So this is my first time doing an Instagram live, and really outside my comfort zone here. So thank you for that. So a lot more of that, and trying new things, So I want to do the golf and probably get back into looking after my own health, which probably has been neglected over the last few years. So I had an accident a few years ago as well, and probably neglected my health a little bit since then. So need to get back into looking after me, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is it's unfortunate that, and I know, speaking from experience, and obviously you are as well, is that it's when those big kind of unexpected events happen that gives you that jolt to go, oh my God, what do I do going forward? Or, oh my God, what am I doing going forward? I've learned so much from this experience. I now need to consider all of these things, but also to be better informed, so that if it should happen again, you're not going to have the same kind of panic, I suppose.
Exactly. Comes back to, are we going to be okay? And then ticking that box, definitely, yeah.
And then in terms of new things to try, you did say obviously podcasts and getting out there and public speaking and all, but are there non-work things, new things that you'd like to give a go? So you've started golf, which is great.
Started golf, yeah. So I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to start looking after myself more. So I used to do a little bit of a weight lifting before, so haven't done that. I know everybody goes on. It's not really. It's actually, look, at this stage of my stage of my life, I have to start looking after myself, and it's really, really good, especially for women, So I'm going to start trying to get back into that in terms of new things, and just looking after the mind a little bit more. So, Sinead Gary, who's our future you, was trying to, introduce me to yoga and the power of that. So I'm going to try that this year, in terms of, this year for 2025, getting back into that and looking after the mind a little bit more as well.
Nice. Well, I've just come from last weekend. I attended a silent retreat in 6 Mile Bridge in the Sunyata Buddhist Center, and I highly recommend it. So I think from my set, it's an amazing thing, because I thought I did it about 5 years ago for the first time, and thought you were basically going to be mute and you wouldn't speak to anyone. So I was very much looking forward to that, because I'm a chatty person, but I do like my silence. But this is actually where it's termed noble silence, which is how mindful are you in your actions. So in terms of, even when you're walking, when you're eating, when you're engaging in conversation with other people, is it all just chatter? Is it noise? How are you mindfully living, but actually embracing silence to be more kind of present to yourself and therefore to others? So I can highly recommend Sunyata Buddhist Center in 6 Mile Bridge.
Interesting. I'll have to give that a look. Yeah, there you go. Well, trying something new.
One of the questions as well that I had for you was, how do you embody financial planning into your own life? How has it made that difference to you? How do you really lead from example?
How do I lead from my example? That's a good question. Well, look, being a mom of 2 kids, it's expensive, right? So we have to have no choice but to go back to the basics in terms of planning, because you'll have expensive certain times of the year are more expensive than others. So, you know, on a day-to-day basis, yeah, I do have to plan and budget and figure out, you know, when you come up to Christmas, it's more expensive. This month, going back to school is more expensive. But again, as I said, it's about living, you know, it's enjoying experiences now. And the kids are young. In a few years, they're going to want to go and not even look at us. So, you know, I have a good idea in terms of what we want to do for the next 5 or 10 years, but that's coming from planning over the last number of years. So I know that, okay, next year we're going to do X with the kids, and after that it's going to be Y. But it's putting those plans in place before now to know that I can do it or I can't do it. There might be things that we want to do that we're going, okay, that's not actually feasible, but we can do Y instead. So yeah, we have our plans in place. And it does make a difference because it provides a little bit of focus, you know. So, okay, you know, we're all working 9 to 5. What are we working for? You know, it's to live our best life. What does that look like? It's, you know, again, for me, it's having the experience with the kids. And if I want to do that, I know I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z to do that. So yeah, my plans have been in place for the last few years, and so that's on a higher level. But on a daily basis or a monthly basis, I won't say that budget on a daily basis, but on a monthly basis, you have to have, when you've got kids, you have to have some kind of a plan in place that you know that what's coming in and what's going out, and you're doing simplified budgeting.
Yeah. I think for us all, regardless of kids or not, I think definitely the monthly cost, you know.
Yeah.
So in terms of like looking at living your best life as well, like if you think of, you know, obviously you've had loss in your life, but if you think of, I suppose, the legacy that they've left, like what do you feel your legacy is so far to date?
Yeah, you asked me about legacy, and I mean, oh my God, I'm never going to win a Nobel Prize here. So what's my legacy going to be? So my legacy, right? For me, I think it's about having good core values, okay? And they've been instilled in me from my parents. And I think it's something that I reflect in my work. I hope I do. And it's something that I want to pass on to my kids. And if I can give them good core values in terms of what I think they are, I think that's being honest, being true to themselves, being a kind and thoughtful person. And I think if we could all instill that in our kids, the world would be a better place. So for me, it's just to live, you know, the best life I can, but being honest and being kind to other people. And I think I want to instill those in my kids and make them honest, kind people as well. I think that's my legacy. It's not going to be anything dramatic. It's just simple. And
I think that's like, we don't necessarily need the drama. I think definitely, as you say, the core value, how you embody that and how you pass it on to others, both in work and in personal life as well. What's the legacy that you have yet to create?
Oh, I don't know. Tune in next year and find out. Yeah, that's a good one. Yet to create. God, you've got me, Jennifer. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. You'll have to wait and see. Come back and tune in for follow up.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the things that, you know, we can talk about legacy as, oh, the mark we make on the world. And again, we might go, oh, but I'm not like that. I'm not going to win a Nobel Prize. But actually, the mark that we leave is in the people that are in our life, the community in which we inhabit, the work that we do, you know, the people that we serve. How do we actually leave that legacy? And even if it's, I'm not talking necessarily about dying, but even if you're in an organization that you may not plan to be there forever, but actually, what's the legacy that you can leave to make things better for the person that succeeds you? How can you continue serving the community that you now serve? And even within organizations, like every organization was created for a reason. There was a gap identified that needed to be filled, and somebody decided that they were the right person to do it. So that mission doesn't ever change. Maybe the way it's done develops and grows, but the people that were there to benefit from your knowledge and your expertise, there's just now more of them. So how do we actually ensure that our legacy for our work, for our life, is something that actually people have benefited from? And like, there's an amazing book, I must find it, I do have it upstairs in my house, but it's a book about different stories about death and about life. But one of them was that if when you die, you actually go into, like, you know, what we used to term as limbo, but if we go into a waiting room, and it's when our name is spoken for the last time on earth, we then go into heaven. And in one way it's devastating for the people in the waiting room, because now they're no longer remembered. So the people that who knew them have now died also, and they, you go on into your room, or you go on into heaven then. But the thing is, if you've made such a huge impression that your legacy long lives, like Shakespeare, he's screaming to get out of the room, but he's done such great work that he'll never get out of the waiting room because his legacy will continue on indefinitely. So it's that thing of, which would you like? Would you like a legacy for the people that you love, or do you want a big lasting impact on loads of people that will continue on? So yeah, I just thought it was quite a quirky story. But also, even in terms of looking at the legacy we've yet to create, like, we all have ambitions.
Yes.
What are the ambitions for us? What are the ambitions maybe for your children if you have them? What are the ambitions for your loved ones? And what are your ambitions maybe for your community that you feel that actually you've got something positive to bring? That I think that it's never too late to start. I think it's like that, using this as an opportunity to take stock of where you're at right now. Get the necessary advice in terms of your finances, your legal, the tax, looking at doing that kind of personal audit, so that you can then look at, okay, well, now that I've cleared the decks, I've got everything in place, I've put my plans in place, I know I've got peace of mind now should something happen, that my loved ones are cared for and I'm cared for. But actually, what do I now want to do with the clear path that's ahead? And quite often we might think big, audacious goals that we don't necessarily believe will ever happen. But if we get our affairs in order, then actually those things are possible. So it's, what is it that we want to actually still achieve and then make better for those that follow.
And I think, you're doing it in your job, you're helping people. I think I'm doing it in my job, I'm helping people. Like, we've lots of stories in terms of, helping people to change careers or making life easier for them or better for them, or, and that's what I love to do is just help people to move a little bit closer to their goals, or maybe that make those decisions that they wouldn't have made without us, that we're just giving them peace of mind. And I think that's, for me, that is great. That's fantastic. That's part of the job that I love and I want to continue to do, is just help people.
Yeah, and I think, and in all fairness, I think I would like to give a shout out to everybody in Metis Ireland, because everybody I've met so far is just, you're all so passionate about the work you do. You're also incredibly kind and incredibly welcoming. And I think it's that thing, is that it's not just finances, pension, insurance policies, and it is. And I've talked to so many different financial planners just with the work that I do. And it's just everybody has that real belief of, actually, you're here to make people's lives better. And it's how can actually you help people see, the possibilities, but just by getting plans in place. So I think fair enough. What I would like to ask is, for people to learn more about yourself and Metis Ireland, how do they find out more and how do they get in contact?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, so Susan Walsh. Metis Ireland have a LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn account. We have an Instagram account. There's a Facebook account. There's YouTube, and we've metisareland.ie. So just log on to the website. You get our contact details there. Pick up the phone to us, Limerick, Dublin, wherever. But just feel free to pick up the phone, have a chat, or LinkedIn. Send us a message on LinkedIn, wherever. Yeah, we're all over the place. We're all over social media, so you'll find us.
Yeah. I think as well, just for people to find out more as well, that I know, like, your colleagues as well are doing various webinars or video and interviews. So I think definitely checking in on LinkedIn, but checking in on the website as well, is that there's more to learn, and it's on an ongoing basis. You're never going to get everything in one go. So I think as well, people can feel overwhelmed with the potential of getting all of this advice, is like, well, how do I make all these decisions? But you can actually, it's drip fed as well, because Metis have all this information. Yeah. So I think the thing as well is that the way you're doing it as a team, I think, is very smart, that it's helping people get that bite-sized information, be able to digest it, go back, get another little bit, and actually help. Not everybody is ready to make fast decisions. So it's how to help ease people into it slowly as well. In terms of, I suppose, a parting note, what are the maybe one or two things that you would like people to take away from this conversation, as to what are the things that they can now do next?
So I think what I would like people to take away is that just take the first step when it comes to financial planning, which is always the hardest step, and which is, to just pick up the phone and talk to a financial planner, somebody that you trust, somebody that you know and you trust and you have a good connection with. And to put the plan in place first, know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and understand what you're doing. And the hardest step is always the first step, and that's just sitting down to figure out where I am now, and just sitting down and have a chat with somebody and take it from there. And as you said, finances can become overwhelming, and they shouldn't. It's a step-by-step approach, and that's why we sit down with our clients and we do yearly reviews, because things will happen, life will change, your plan needs to adapt to those changes as well. So the plan that you put in place today will not be the same plan that you have in 5 years' time. Well, certainly not. But once you have a good solid foundation, and you can help, that plan will change and adapt to your needs and your requirements. So the first step is always the hardest, and that's just picking up the phone and having a chat and getting to know somebody and being comfortable with the person you're talking to as well.
Yeah, I think one thing that I would add on to that is, even in terms of even giving yourself over the next week, anybody that's listening in, is that level of even just try and actually take stock of all of the things connected to you. So whether it is your utility bills, your bank accounts, your mailing lists, your subscriptions, and everything that's connected to you, and then everything that has a financial implication, whether it is bringing money in, putting money out of your account, what are all the things that you spend money on? What are all the things that you invest on? And then how can you ensure that you actually have all of that kind of, I suppose, that you take stock of all of that, so that it helps you get an idea of where you're at with your money currently, to then know that when it comes to contacting yourselves to even look at that workbook, to go through that kind of idea of, okay, well, what are all the things that you have ambition for, but where are you at right now? So I think there is that level of, we're coming into autumn, and autumn is always about the harvest. So why not actually use this as a time to harvest all of the things that you have connected to you, so you can really see where you're at. And it doesn't matter how young or how old you are. And I've just noticed my niece has just tuned in from Florida. So hi, Ayla.
Oh, you're lovely.
But the fact that she's 16 is also, whether you're 16, whether you're 60, whether you're 90, or any age in between, is actually, how do you look at all of the things that you spend your money on and all the things that you earn money from? And then that at least helps you better understand your own finances. And then how can you then use that to bring that information to a financial planner to go, here's where I'm at. Because you're going to see things that they may not have seen. You also can ask questions that they're not familiar with to ask of themselves, but at least they've got a starting point as well.
Exactly. That's what a good financial planner will help you do, is understand where you're at, what have you, what you need to do, where do you need to get to, so yeah, it's just taking the first step. Yeah.
That's great. Any parting words that you'd like to say before we finish up?
I want to thank you for inviting me to join you this evening. And you're doing fantastic work, Jennifer, and I wish you all the best. But it's great. So just keep going. Living legacy is fantastic, and it's helping people as well. That end of life planning. It's not a lot of people want to do, but it needs to be done. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that's where, even in terms of Metis Ireland, inviting me to go to the Future You conference, and it's just that there's such a wide network of people that are in the space of financial planning, legal advice, grief support. There's all the different things that, if you're going through a tough time or a recent bereavement, but also if you're not, and you're just not sure why you need to do any kind of planning until maybe you get a health diagnosis or a bereavement, actually now is the time to do it. Because at least you just know where you're at. And I think there's always a wide network. So even if people come to me, I know that the likes of Metis Ireland exist. I know that there are other services out there. It's not like we're all in competition, but we're in collaboration, because we all offer a different level of the service that people need, but we can also refer people. So I think it's how can you talk to people that may lead you to the supports that you need. And I think, for me, obviously with the end of life, is I've learned so much from the likes of yourselves at Metis Ireland to help me even consider my finances, and how do I actually learn from what you've got to help direct people to you. Because I just think the more that we can actually put our finances in place, the better prepared we can be to actually enjoy the life that we want to live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Sue, Walsh from Metis Ireland. Thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic talking to to you. And I'm glad that I have your fives, because I definitely will be coming back to you in a year and saying, have you done them? So no pressure at all. But for anybody watching, you can follow up in Metis Ireland at Metis Ireland on social media. You can go to metisireland.ie and also check out their LinkedIn profiles for their regular webinars and their short videos to kind of help people get started. And for myself, you can go to livinglegacy.ie. You can also follow the replays of our Living Legacy conversations on YouTube at livinglegacy_IE. And any questions, feel free to email me at info@livinglegacy.ie. And for everybody following, I would ask you to please consider taking part in our annual survey, because we want to know what kind of conversations you want us to have, so that you can actually learn how to build and live your legacy, but also to make space for your life yet to live. So that's me. Susan, thank you very much for you. And I look forward to talking more, and I suppose helping my finances in place as well. But for now, anyway, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Take care.